It's Sunday, February 23rd, right now on 12 News at 10. Local leaders work to end sex trafficking. A group of first responders says an insurance company is not paying benefits it should. Now there's a lawsuit. The Arizona State Treasurer is operating a multi-billion-dollar investment firm out of her office.
I'm meteorologist Lauren Rainson. Get ready. The first 90-degree day of the year is possible this week. Follow that up with big changes beyond that.
12 News at 10 starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Anti-human trafficking organizations are shining a light on the dangers children and women face every single day. A big gathering of decision makers today, and 12 News journalist Gabriela Becerra live at the Arizona State Capitol with what happened out there. Gabby?
Well, Troy, tonight, state senators J.D. Mesnard and Warren Peterson announced they'd be activating a statewide task force. In part, they'd be looking at Arizona's laws against human trafficking and see how they help or hurt both victims and the process of prosecuting offenders. An interpretive dance tells the story of how Sherry Lopez became a victim and survivor of human trafficking.
At the age of 15, I was just an innocent child going about my life. Grew up in a two-parent home, middle of three girls, but I was groomed by my high school boyfriend's father and then trafficked for 7 years.
Now she fights for survivor rights, both at the state and federal levels.
I think our law enforcement does a great job. What happens is when they get in front of a judge, things kind of fall apart.
At the 7th annual Night of Hope, anti-human trafficking advocates called on unity between policymakers, law enforcement, and families to better prevent and prosecute.
It's rough, it's hard, it's evil, but it takes an army to actually defeat this.
For the policymakers, advocates want to see laws that support victims.
Victims are real victims, so we got to make sure there's not double jeopardy.
While also giving law enforcement agencies the best tools to investigate. Scottsdale police recently announced more than 200 arrests in a proactive human trafficking operation last month. No children were directly involved.
Whenever we do an operation, we're overwhelmed with the number of people we have to investigate. And so resources would be a big thing.
For families, advocates say education about human trafficking and sex crime awareness starts at home.
The thing about predators pursuing kids, they always have gone to where kids are at, right? Sometimes playgrounds, sometimes schools, sometimes churches. Well, now where are kids? They're on the internet.
And Lopez wants parents to know no child is immune to these dangers.
Any child can be groomed. Any child can be trafficked.
And advocates encourage parents to sit down with their kids and have conversations about the dangers of talking to strangers in both public, in person, and online. And we have resources for how to have those conversations on 12news.com. Live at the Arizona State Capitol, Gabriela Becerra, 12 News.
And Gabby, so many forms of human trafficking. I mean, we talk about people being brought across the border for these things. And then the woman in your story there, it was the father of one of her friends.
That's right. We heard about several ways that this can happen tonight, and they're trying to focus on each one of those things, but they say the one that's targeting kids the most right now is the tablets, the social media, being online. So they're really hoping that parents focus in and monitor their kids on their phones and on social media and keep in contact with them again about the dangers of talking to strangers.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Gabby, thank you for the story tonight. Young man is killed after crashing his car into a tree in the West Valley. This happened overnight near 59th Avenue and Indian School. Tonight, police have identified that driver as 20-year-old Jesus Dominguez Romo. Detectives say he was speeding, and that likely was a factor in the crash. Nobody else was hurt. A separate overnight crash killing a woman in Maryvale. 44-year-old Rafaela Montes Garcia walking outside of a marked crosswalk when she was hit by a car. According to police, the driver did stay there at the scene, and no charges have been filed against that driver. Now from the 12 News I-Team, a company that sold health insurance plans to retired firefighters and police officers is now accused of defrauding these first responders in a federal lawsuit. Multiple families told the I-Team's Katie Wilcox they're facing huge medical bills and now have nowhere to turn. They asked the I-Team for help.
Thin Blue Line says their job is to back the blue, but now they're accused of leaving firefighters and retired police officers on the hook for thousands in unpaid medical bills.
Well, that's him.
Susan Huff is a firefighter's daughter,
My dad,
a firefighter's sister,
brother's the far left.
a firefighter's mother.
and my son Jake.
And a firefighter's
My husband,
very proud.
not going to be happy with me showing you this, but
Why?
he got Firefighter of the Year.
Her father, brother, husband, and one of her sons have all served for the Phoenix Fire Department. They're just 4 among thousands who put their lives at risk every day.
I remember him sitting at the table and he was telling me about this fire he was in, and I saw the burn marks on him, and I looked at him and I said, do you realize how much we need you? You know?
In 2017, her husband Mark retired.
My husband was ready to retire because I think he had like 38 years on the job.
Still, he was too young to qualify for Medicare. And options for health insurance are expensive.
A lot of firemen that have to go and work on the side after they retired just for the insurance.
And that's why in 2020, a woman named Anna Reed launched Thin Blue Line Benefits to provide lower cost insurance to first responders under the age of 65.
How many of you are under 65?
Sometimes getting referrals from locals.
I myself am personally enrolled in the Thin Blue Line Value Plan.
But Thin Blue Line isn't a traditional insurance company. It's an association health plan, partnered with Quilt Benefits to process claims and Cigna for member benefits. Or it was, until December, when those partners cut ties, sending a letter to members saying they canceled their contracts because Thin Blue Line was failing to pay claims.
What we paid was $40,000.
Last fall, Susan's daughter needed a surgery.
We had to take money out of our retirement to pay for it, thinking we were going to get reimbursed within a few months. And then after the calling, and it was like, this is so bizarre. I've never had anything like this happen before.
Quilt and Cigna wouldn't answer my questions about how many people had unpaid claims or how much money this all cost. But the complaints online were mounting.
You know, I found that there was a lawsuit.
In federal court, Reed sued her partner, Matthew Clay,
claiming a breach of contract when Clay tried to leave the company. But Clay shot back, saying he's also a retired police officer and learned the company wasn't paying his medical bills.
So there have been instances where this has been exploited, and it can be a murky area for insurance regulators, right?
Sarah Leek works for the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, a nonprofit, nonpartisan research company that's raised red flags on association health plans before.
It was hard to know in some cases who's regulating these. And if I'm a consumer enrolled in those plans and I find something's wrong, it could be confusing and difficult to know who is the cop on the beat, who is the person I'm supposed to call to help me figure out the problem that I'm having.
The Arizona Department of Insurance and Financial Institutions says Thin Blue Line is not licensed in Arizona. Reed and her attorneys did not respond to my multiple calls, texts, and emails, but have told members in an email that all claims will be paid correctly.
I hope that they're able to get the funds to pay people what they owe them.
Leaving members and their families to wait
within a few months.
And hope.
It just remains to be seen.
So what can you do if you're worried about your medical bills being paid? Well, you should talk to your doctor and make sure those things don't get sent to collections. But I also have links right now on 12news.com for how you can file a complaint or find out if you qualify for other kinds of insurance. In the newsroom, Katie Wilcox, 12 News.
Katie, thank you. This story came to the I-Team from viewer tips. If you have a tip for this or any other story, contact 12 News at connect@12news.com.